but I'll try my best. A lot of you Indian geography peeps have helped me along the way, so thank you, and without further ado, let's begin. It's time to learn geography now.
Oh, I like
Everybody,
this guy.
I'm your host Barbie. This place doesn't even need much of an introduction. Everybody has heard of India. It's big,
That's
loud,
true.
it's colorful, and
Who
most
hasn't?
importantly, it has a plethora of confusing territorial anomalies that I just can't wait
I
to
don't
cover.
know about
Here
the
we go.
territorial anomalies. I didn't know about all that. Political.
Saying India is a place where everyone is in a hurry, but no one is ever on time.
Really?
India is located in South Asia, right on the
I didn't
Indian
know
and
y'all always
Arabian
late.
Seas and the Bay of Bengal, bordered by 6 other countries, so close to 7, but that land bridge between Sri Lanka got wiped away like 600 years ago by a cyclone. India is divided into 29 states and 7 union territories, with the capital New Delhi, which acts as its own administrative unit, located in the capital
Kinda like
territory.
DC,
Keep in mind, New Delhi is
right?
actually just the name of one of the districts in the capital territory, made up of 11. The largest city, however, is actually
already
Mumbai, with New Delhi, Bangalore, or Bengaluru, and Hyderabad following after. However, the 4 busiest airports are Delhi Indira Gandhi International, Mumbai's
that
Chhatrapati
airport.
Shivaji
Oh,
International,
they're
Bengaluru's
pretty.
Kempegowda International, and Chennai International in the south. You know why I'm smiling. This is my favorite part of any episode we ever make. Territorial anomalies.
All right.
It is loaded with strange borders and deliciously complex
Oh,
demarcation
delicious.
lines.
I'm ready
What
for that.
exactly is a union territory? In the simplest way I can put this, union territories are places that are too distinct to be incorporated into a state, but too small to have their own local governments. The first one, of course, is the
Alright,
Delhi
this-
National Capital Territory, where the capital lies. Chandigarh is a post-independent city constructed to
Chandigarh.
replace Lahore as the capital of the Punjab area after it was split up
This
between
a
India
lot.
and Pakistan.
Alright.
Then you have the island territories, the smallest one, Lakshadweep, and the Andaman and Nicobar
I
Islands.
should
The
be
Andaman
taking
Islands belong
notes.
to one of the last uncontacted people groups on the planet, the Sentinelese tribe, whom have been hostile to visitors and are therefore left alone, as well as the Nicobar Islands, which actually used to be a short-lived colony of Denmark. Finally, the 3 remaining territories are former European colony towns and ports. Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, which are separated by about 200 kilometers across the Gulf of Kambat, and the most confusing union territory, the French-speaking Puducherry,
What?
which is actually split up between 4 district cities
They got-
across
they
India.
speak the
Karikal,
French over
Mahe,
there, too?
Yanaon, and Pondicherry. Pondicherry is strange because it has 11 enclaves within the Tamil
This
Nadu
is too
state.
much.
And in this area, you can also find the experimental hippie-ish commune with a little bit of controversy.
I wanna go there!
Don't forget, here, the eastern states, also known as
That
the
looks
Seven
like
Sisters,
Epcot.
are connected by this incredibly narrow 27-kilometer wide pathway known as the Siliguri Corridor. This pathway is like a crucial artery that completes the India puzzle. Or so you would think. Now let's discuss the juicy stuff.
yeah, I
Now,
like
in the
juicy.
China episode, I already talked about the disputed areas with India, such as
I know
Aksai Chin
about
and
some of
Arunachal
that.
Pradesh. The latter pretty much just belonging to India, as it's almost completely inhabited and operated by Indians. So let's move to the other disputes. Now, as of 2015,
More
the
disputes.
Bangladesh episode is already outdated, as India and Bangladesh have finally come to an agreement over the frighteningly complex former
Oh, that's
enclave-exclave
good.
dispute. In the end, India only lost about 40 square kilometers of land to Bangladesh, and now only a few enclaves and exclaves exist. Now let's head north. Now, when you try to draw the shape of India, you might want to be careful which depiction you use. Some might use this picture, some might use this, some might use this.
What?
and
They
those
got
that
all
don't
kinds of
study
different
very well
ones?
might use this. The point is,
That's
the whole area
Italy,
is
I knew that.
the most heavily militarized, diplomatically stressed out region on the planet. It's already had like 4 wars in the past half century. Basically, India, Pakistan, and to some extent China all want the entire area for themselves, although it's more of like a Pakistan-India thing. In the China episode, we already discussed
China
the
always
Chinese
wanna get
disputes
in
with
it,
India,
huh?
so I won't cover those in this episode. If you want to learn more, just watch the China episode. But anyway, this entire area was a former domain known as the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir that was under royal Maharaja rulers all the way up until independence.
This
Currently,
is
this
a
place
lot.
is split up by this fenced-off
I'm already
militarized line
confused.
known as the line of control between
look at
India
that.
and Pakistan. Why is this? Well, in the quickest way I can put this, okay, the British are out. We gotta take your land. No, we want to be an independent princely state.
We're supposed to take your land. And
Oh,
the majority
okay.
of your people are Muslim, just like us. Even though your ruler is Hindu as well.
Hey, India? Yeah. If you help me, I'll let you secede my territory to your land with autonomy. Deal.
Oh,
Your problem now. I love how Mike plays India. He totally knows. Oh, and keep in mind, Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, is less than 80 kilometers away from all that drama.
Oh,
the line of
wow.
control meanders through the mountains until it stops at a
I
point
know
called
that Pakistan and India have-
NJ982.
they-
This is where
they
things
got
get really
tensions
crazy,
there.
because from there you hit the Siachen Glacier, the second longest non-polar glacier in the world,
Oh,
and this
glacier?
is pretty much the dead man zone. After point
What?
NJ9842, you hit the actual ground position line, a series of military outposts that extend
Oh.
all the way to the Chinese border. That means everything in this area area is ground zero for the Indo-Pak tension. And you know, the crazy thing is there's actually literally small towns of normal, regular civilians living in these areas high up in the mountains, many of which just go about daily life, going to work and raising their families. Otherwise, they have a river dispute with Nepal and various river islands disputes.
There's all kind of disputes
Outside
going
of all
on
the
with that,
disputes,
huh?
though, India not only has the world's second largest road network and 3 of the world's top 10 megacities
Nice.
and their own space program,
Nice.
they also have a copious abundance of landmarks and notable sites.
You know
Way
that.
too many to list, but some of the ones that you guys, the Indian geographers, have told me to mention include places like the abandoned Dhanushkodi Ghost City, Golconda Fort,
Ghost.
the 4 pillars of Charminar, the Ajanta Buddhist art caves, the Ellora monolithic ruins,
Oh, look at
Mandu
that.
Fortress,
Oh,
the Golden
gorgeous.
Temple, which feeds
Golden
over
Temple!
1,000 people a day, the Gol Gumbaz Mausoleum, the Kalavantin
Golden
Durg
Temple.
Post, the ruins of Hampi, the hill forts of Rajasthan, Shatrunjaya
I
Hill,
wanna
which
see
is
everything.
basically like a mecca for Jains.
I wanna
the
see
Temple
all
of the
that.
Bodhi Tree,
The
Jal
Bodhi-
Mahal, Bangard Fort, the most haunted place in India.
Oh, no, I ain't going there.
Mara, and
I
you
ain't
can
going.
find, just like in China, you can find a great
going to
wall
that
of
fort.
India in Rajsaman. There's also the Paritala Anjaneya temple with the largest statue in India depicting Hanuman, and at over 150 acres, the Sri Rangan Attaswamy temple, the largest Hindu temple
that's
in the
beautiful.
world. Oh yeah,
Look
and
at
there's
that.
also that building with the stuff in the thing.
Taj Mahal, I knew that one!
Centuries talking about India's rich constructed
That's the
domicile
only one I
that lies on top of is even more fascinating.
Physical
Now,
geography.
don't make this mistake.
I'm going to India. All I need are my sandals and sunscreen.
Now, as the 7th largest country in land area, India has a wide range of landscapes, climates, and elevations that all contrast from one corner to the other. First of all, let's talk about the north. India sits on the Indian tectonic plate that essentially smashed into the Eurasian plate, which in return created the largest mountain range in the
Oh,
world,
yeah.
the Himalayas.
Okay.
The force
I know.
associated
I
with
have
it's estimated
Himalayas.
that the Himalayas grow about 2.4 inches or 6.1 centimeters every year. There's also where you can find Kanchenjunga, the tallest mountain in India, or the 3rd in the world, right on the border of Nepal. Keep your eye on
That's
these mountains.
right. Is
These
that where
are
the
pretty much the
glaciers
source
are?
of most of India's major rivers that give life to the whole country. That's why India takes these mountains so seriously. You can also find the largest
I bet.
natural lake, Wular, up in the Jammu Kashmir
Don't
area.
mess with
Below
those
the
mountains.
Himalayas, you reach the North Indian River Plain, sometimes referred to as the Indus Ganga. This is the most fertile part of India, where the most important rivers like the Ganges and its tributaries flow. Heading a little south, you reach the Satpura and Vindhya ranges
I'm
that pretty much
learning so
divide
much
North
stuff,
India
man.
from South India. On each side, you get the West and East Ghat mountains, which in return creates this
Lot of
massive
mountainous
triangle
areas
called the
in there,
Deccan
huh?
Plateau. This place is moderately forested, especially in the east, in the Chotra Nagpur Plateau, where you get a section of the swampy Sundarbans
There's
that
a
they
lot
show
of
with
mountain
Bangladesh.
ranges
Check out the
and
Bangladesh episode. Head a little west and you get the dry
Got a lot of
Tar Desert
episodes
along the
in
border
here.
with Pakistan, as well as the Rann of Kutch, known as the Salt
Cooch.
Desert. And finally, the only active volcanic area would be the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, with
Well, that's
Barren Island
beautiful,
having
though. Look
actual
at it.
conical eruptions, and Baratan having
Look
tame
how
mud
beautiful
volcanoes.
that
Now, here's
is.
the thing. Although India has a relatively high population density, they do relatively well with maintaining their ecological footing.
That's
in fact,
right,
in 2016,
India.
they
That's
beat the
right.
world record by planting, disputably, 50 million trees in one day. They've also agreed to reforest about 12% of their country by 2030.
That's
The most
right,
heavily
my
forested
India,
area
y'all.
includes the 7 sister states in East India. Now, one of the factors that contributes to this would be the fact that India has the
environmental
lowest meat consumption in the world, with
Oh.
the highest population percentage of vegetarians at around 40%.
I like
Most of
my
whom
meat.
are lacto-vegetarians that consume milk products. By the way, in India, when buying
my
groceries,
meat.
this label means vegetarian and this one means not
Oh,
vegetarian.
okay.
Nonetheless, the remainder of the population does typically eat some kind of animal protein, mostly in the forms of seafood or chicken,
see, I
but
can
almost
do
never
that.
beef or pork, unless
I
if
can
you're
do
part of the
that.
Muslim or Christian minorities scattered throughout the west and east areas. Now, let's talk about
I
the
love
role
me
of
some
cattle,
chicken.
shall we? India has more cattle and livestock than anywhere else in the world at around
Okay.
330 million. And it's interesting because since they have prevalent Hindu traditions, the killing of cows is illegal in many of the states except for a few, and each state has varying degrees
They
of
just
punishment
walking
for
around
committing
on the street
intentional
with
cow
everybody,
slaughter.
huh?
Keyword intentional. Cows accidentally get hit by cars all the time. Once a cow is too old to produce milk, it typically is released into the open to die naturally in the wild, ideally. Nonetheless, male cattle get it much worse, as they are deemed as kind of useless. Some places use them as draft animals for labor, some religious sects use them as sacrifices, but otherwise they are
Oh.
typically sold to the underground market for beef or hides. To this day, there are about 6 times as many female cows as male
Well, 'cause
cattle
they
in
want the
India,
milk,
that
right?
means, yeah, something's happening to the males. Nonetheless,
Uh-oh.
India does have the 3rd highest
They
carbon
went to the
emission
male.
rate after China and the US, 4th if you consider the EU. However, emission per capita, they rank pretty low at only about 2 kilotons per person. Contrast that with Qatar at about 40. There are
Wow.
94 national parks, 501 animal sanctuaries across the country where you can find some of the
Oh, look
national
at that
animals like the
thing.
peacock,
The
the Ganges
peacock!
river dolphin, the king cobra, the
Oh, I don't want no
highest
cobras.
population of Bengal tigers in the world, which are all highly protected. India also has the most irrigated land in the world, which allows them to become the #1 producer of multiple products like millet, bananas, lemons, limes, mangoes, ginger.
Oh, I know about the mangoes. Everybody talk about the mangoes up
About
in India.
75% of the world's spices alone come from
That's
India.
right, y'all
Speaking of
got
which,
your spices
food
too.
typically you can find the staples roti, chapati, and naan in the north, idli and dosa in the south, and everybody eats rice. The more commonly commercialized Indian foods that we in the West grew up knowing, like samosas, tikka masala,
Talk about all the food.
My favorite Indian dish, palak paneer.
What?
These
What is
usually
that?
come from the northern regions of India. Seriously,
What
India,
is it?
you took spinach and made it fat. I love you guys.
fat
Otherwise,
spinach!
the West is also known for their chutneys and pickled foods, as well as beef, since there's a high number of Muslims and Christians.
Pickled
The South uses a lot more
mango
coconut and has some of the
pickles.
best curries like porials, sambras, rasams, and tutus. And the East is known for having the best desserts like peda,
Oh,
soy,
yeah.
rasgulla, or shondek.
Oh,
Speaking
you
of which,
speak
India
my
is
language,
so diverse and
desserts.
complex that sometimes even Indian people need translators when going to different
Really?
states. It's about to get 10 times
Well,
more
I know
confusing
they have
in
a
about
lot of
3,
the language
2,
to tell.
1. Shashi Tharoor once said, "In India, we celebrate the commonality of major differences. We are a land of belonging rather than blood." First of all, India has a population
I
of
love
about
that.
1.3 billion
The land
people
of
and is the second most
belonging
populous
rather
country in
than
the world
blood.
after China, with about 18% of the world's population. About 72% of the country is Indo-Aryan and a quarter are Dravidian, and the majority of the remainder are Mongoloid, Asian, and other people.
Mongoloid?
They also use the Indian rupee as their currency. They use the
What
Type
is
C,
a
D, and M
Mongoloid?
plug outlets, and they drive on the left side.
Ah,
By the way, technically,
I'm
it's the
already.
same
I drive on the left
You
side
guys have sent
over
me a
here,
lot
and we're
of them
supposed
for
to drive on
fan-
the.
Fan Friday videos, so I don't want to go to jail again. But keep in mind, those statistics that I just mentioned are incredibly generalized. Of the Indo-Aryan and Dravidian communities, there are about 2,000 different ethno-linguistic people groups in India, with about 645 district indigenous tribes, 52 major ones. So obviously we can't cover them all, but what we do know is that
It's
the
a
North
lot.
is very
He
different
talks
from the
fast.
South. For one, the North mostly
He talks
speaks in
fast.
languages that are all related to the Indo-Aryan branch, with languages like Hindi, Bengali, Punjabi, and Gujarati, whereas the
Punjabi.
South speaks a completely unintelligible
See, I know
Dravidian
the
branch,
Tamil and the
languages like Tamil,
Telugu.
Malayalam, and Kannada.
I seen those.
Canada. Otherwise, there's also pockets of Sino-Tibetan and Austroasiatic languages spoken in the far
Canada
north
at
and east.
Canada Kumar.
they all, like,
Is that where Canada Kumar lives?
Great question. Although India does not have an official language, there are 22 recognized national languages, and of these, 2 are the most prevalent, taught in schools and used by government officials, Hindi and English. And very often, these two are like mixed mid-sentence. It's weird. Don't be surprised if you hear someone speaking Hindi and then suddenly finishing off in English. It's like,
It's not good big it's worse. And I was like, what this? And I was like trying to why are you even trying to do that?
I know, right? And the
I understand half of what they're saying.
Bob Saget with a chainsaw. Now, of course, let's
I
discuss the
understand
one
half
thing
what
that
they're
goes hand in hand
saying.
with India, Hinduism. About 80% of India claims to be Hindu, or at least part of the Hindu practicing community. Now, we don't have time to explain everything
got
about
the
the tenets and
spirit of the
multi-layered
Hinduism
philosophies and
and-
practices of Hinduism. If you want to know, just talk to a Hindu person. But basically, one thing you do need to know is that Hindu-driven ideologies pretty much dominate most of life in India, everything from family to business. You will see colorful, mesmerizing shrines, temples, statues, and rituals
Beautiful.
being performed everywhere, even in public. On the Bharat Mata, the Mother of India statues are everywhere. She's like the symbol of India.
Really?
The largest Hindu pilgrimage, the Kumbh Mela, happens every 3 years, rotating between 4 cities, in which the adherents bathe in the Ganges River
Oh,
and enjoy a
look at
massive
that.
festival with tens of millions of
Oh,
people.
I wanna go to
seriously,
it!
You can practically see it happening
After
in space.
COVID.
Now, a controversial topic
After
in relation to
COVID.
Hinduism would be the caste system, which is basically a belief that people are born into a
See, I don't like
socioeconomic
this one.
life that they are
I don't
destined
like
to
that,
serve
this
into.
one.
Today, however, the system is more fluid
See,
and
that's
loose from what
good.
it used to be from
Yeah.
a long time ago. And thanks to economic reforms, anybody with enough drive can kind of move up the social ladder
Oh, good.
regardless of birth. Nonetheless, India is home to every major religion in the world, even a few Jews, including the B'nai Menashe, an indigenous group that claimed to be one of the lost tribes of Israel. In fact, Judaism and Christianity actually had a head start in India way before it even kicked off in Europe. As tradition holds, Cochin or Malabar Jews migrated around 1000 BC to trade during the times of King Solomon, and in 53 AD,
wanna
Thomas
go
the
to
Apostle of
India.
Jesus arrived
I
in what
wanna
is now
go
Istanbul
visit all
to
my
establish the
friends
first church in
and
India. Today,
all
most
these
Christians are found in the
amazing
southwest and
places.
far east Seven Sisters regions. India also holds the highest population of Sikhs, Jains, and Zoroastrians, mostly
I heard
found
of
in the
Sikhs.
north, and the second largest Muslim population in
But
the
I
world
hadn't heard
after
of the other
Indonesia.
two.
Most Muslims are populated around the northwest areas by Pakistan or in the east by Bangladesh. Oh, and don't forget the Buddhists. In fact,
Oh,
Buddhism
yeah,
actually
Buddhism.
started in India. Today, the Dalai Lama even takes refuge in Tezpur in the state of Assam. Oh, that was a lot of information.
I know, how'd you-
By now you can probably get a grasp of how incredibly mixed and diversified India's population is, but what exactly holds the country together?
Oh, that's
Well, for
good.
one, you kind of have to understand Indian history, which will take way too long to explain, but in the quickest way I can put it, Indus Valley, Maurya and Gupta empires, southern empires, Golden Age,
There's
Middle
too much.
Kingdoms,
There's too
until
much.
new religions come flocking in, the north fell to the Delhi Sultanate, the south became the Vijayanagara
The
Empire,
Vijay-
Mughal Empire starts, British East India Company, direct British rule, nationalist movements, independence, republic, economic liberalization in 1991, and here we are today.
Vagina.
Oh!
Essentially,
See,
India used to be made up of around 500 smaller royal princely states.
That's
and
where
when the
my
British
mind
came in,
goes
they kind of
to.
exploited them to manage such a huge population. Although India is a democratic federal republic and the largest democracy in the world, the old royal families still exist today, and although they have no political power, they hold
Really?
high positions of influence in their communities across India. So today, technically, you could meet someone that would be considered an Indian prince or princess. Nonetheless, the biggest thing that really united Indians in the past 2 centuries would probably be their hatred of British rule. It was kind of like,
Well, this is not cool.
I'm
What do you
mostly
say you and I
British.
work together in a
I'm
in
in
this
the
thing?
US, but my DNA says I'm like
essentially, one good thing you can
70%.
say that came out
Don't
of
hate me.
imperialism was that it kind of stopped all the internal squabbling and unified the groups towards
good.
one common
That's
goal,
good.
to get rid of imperialism. Today, Indians are just proud to be Indian. I mean, a Tamil soccer player can get cheered on by a Rajasthani. A Punjabi pop star can sell out tickets in Orissa. Speaking of which, all Indians love movies and music.
You
India has the second
yeah!
largest film industry in terms of volume, pumping out nearly 2,000 films per year. Surprisingly, Nigeria pumps out more.
What?
Its box office revenues gross out at only about $2 billion annually compared to Hollywood at over $10 billion. But still, it's impressive. And keep in mind, it's not just Bollywood, but it's also Tollywood.
Oh, I know.
Bollywood,
The
Hollywood,
Sandalwood
there's like 20 different
and
woods in India. Oh,
Mollywood.
Every movie in
She
India has
didn't
at
even
least
say
one
them
scene
all.
where everybody breaks out in song, and there's almost always a happy ending. Unfortunately, mainstream media has also put an aesthetic strain on many of
love
the
the
people, as
Bollywood
it's almost
songs.
become an obsession to be light or fair-skinned, causing people to go so far as to buy skin
What?
bleaching products. Some
Don't
other
do that.
controversies include things like illiteracy being an issue in many parts of the country, especially in the rural areas. But I mean, come on, when your country has literally hundreds of different writing systems, go figure.
That's
I mean,
true.
give them a break. Also,
That's
many
true.
of you guys, the Indian geography peeps, have asked me to bring awareness to the fact that India does unfortunately have some of the highest rates of human trafficking and
Oh,
child slavery. The government is trying to
no.
crack down, and culture is slowly
Got it.
being
We gotta
reformed, but
stop
for now,
that.
it's a sad reality that still does exist.
we
Hey,
gotta
you're a
stop.
GN, we talk about the good and the bad. I'm just saying. Otherwise, sports do definitely tie everyone together as well, especially
Cricket.
cricket.
I know about that
Even though
cricket.
They also used to do really well in field hockey. India also has a lot of their own indigenous sports like Dopkel in Assam,
What?
bull racing in
What's that?
Kerala, Insupnar, rod pushing in Mizoram, and Malakamba, the strange pole yoga gymnastics thing in the south. Otherwise, some notable people
What
from
was-
India or of Indian descent might include
pole
people like
gym-
Siddhartha Gautama or the Buddha, Mahavir, Ashoka the Great, Prithviraj Chauhan,
like
Aurangzeb,
his
Shivaji
mustache.
of the Maratha Empire, Mohandas or
Oh,
Mahatma
yeah,
Gandhi,
we know him.
Indira Gandhi,
And her.
Subhash Chandra Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru, Rabindranath Tagore, C.V. Raman, Satyendra Nath Bose, Bhagat Singh, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh
Shah Rukh
Bachchan,
Khan.
Amir Khan, Salman Khan, Priyanka
Oh, all the
Chopra,
Khans.
Ben Kingsley,
Priyanka.
Sundar Pichai, Satya Narayana Nadella, A.R. Rahman, Sachin Tendulkar, and Mahendra Singh Dhoni. There's also literally millions of other famous people I missed out on. If you want to mention them, please, there's a comment section below. Use it. In the meantime, we gotta finish this info marathon, shall we?
Here we go. Do.
Now, no surprise, India is huge and therefore has a huge international outreach when it comes to diplomacy to almost everyone, except their immediate neighbors. First of all, countries with large population percentages of Hindus and Indians
But they're our
Guyana,
friends.
Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Mauritius, and Malaysia typically stay close to India's roster of go-to friends. They enjoy cordial relations with trade. Now, the UK may have left on a sour note, but they still have a lot of ties to their former colonizer in
Okay,
terms
that's
of
good,
business and
that's good.
tourism. India is still part of the Commonwealth, not Commonwealth realm. There's a difference. And
Oh,
the
I
UK
didn't-
has
I
over
don't know the
1.5
difference
million
of that.
citizens of Indian descent. As mentioned in the China episode, China is kind of like India's "I'm only here to do business with you and nothing else" friend, as drama still hasn't subsided in regards to the territory conflicts. Now, when it comes to the US, things started kind of sour back in the 70s during the
no.
Indo-Pak
We're
War.
friends now. We're
1971.
friends.
The US sided with Pakistan, their arch nemesis. Today, relations have cooled off. Mostly, the US supports India's move towards democracy and
Yes.
is a key ally in the military conflicts in the Middle East. When it comes to their best friends, however, most of the Indians I talked to have said Russia and
Really?
Bhutan. Russia,
Russia?
because during the Indo-Pak Wars, Russia came in and supported them, and ever since then, each country has held a high position
Okay.
of respect for the other, especially as global superpowers. Bhutan and
Oh,
India
I didn't
signed
know
a treaty of
this.
friendship almost immediately after independence. The two countries have shared interests and a currency-pegged system as well. Bhutan even supported the annexation of their cousins in the Sikkim state into India, as it gave a nice buffer of land from China's stake to their claim. In conclusion, you will not find